Before assessing whether visitors on our hotel website engage with our content, we need to first make sure that they can see our content. It might not sound like an important thing because we typically give it for granted that those who open a website they can actually see the website. However, there are most times discrepancy between these two events, and there are many reasons behind. However, and by far the number one reason as to why people who open a website that do actually not see the website is page load time. In other words, the pages that users are trying to open up in their browser are taking too long and therefore they bounce before the page is fully loaded. Now, if you see this report, we have the first event called page view, and page view is an automatically collected event by Google Analytics 4, and it happens as soon as a user tries to open up a new page. The page load time event instead is not an automatic event, so you need to customize it. And the importance of having this event track is not just about computing how long a single page takes to open up on average, but also to give us an indication in terms of a total event count between how many people try to open up a page and how many people wait till the moment the page is fully loaded. I have opened up these two pages of these two hotels in which we have installed the page load time event, and so let's start with the first one where we can see that the total count of events is pretty similar, 23,000, 23,000. The delta is just a few units, and this is pretty normal. And this is potentially a good indication of a good website, a lightning fast loading website. However, if we see this other hotel in which we have the exact same tracking, we see that we have a very different situation. Still 23,000 number of events in page view, but now almost 20%, more than 4,000 less events in the page load time. It means that more than 20% of people are not willing to wait for the page to fully load, and therefore they bounce. So we are leaving opportunities behind. Now, before getting into details, let's move on to Google Tag Manager because I want to show you exactly how these two events happen. So the page view and the page load time. And so let's go in preview mode and let's simulate what happens when a user tries to open up a new web page. The page is now loading. Now let's keep an eye here on the left where we have the event play load, essentially the list of events that happen chronologically speaking. And so we see that we have first a number 3 container loaded event, and this is where the page view event happened, and only after that we have a window loaded event, which is when the page is fully loaded. And so we see that in here we have our custom event, GA4 custom event page load time. If we click on it, we can see how long it takes. And we can see that it took 11 seconds, more than 11 seconds. You can perfectly understand that this is probably too much, and therefore an indication that this page probably is too heavy, probably caused by heavy images, or probably caused by other technical reasons like scripts that may run in the backend. It's not the purpose of this video to get into the reason. However, it's the purpose of this video to first get to know when we have a potential problem. Now, the next step is to understand, okay, what are the pages that are causing these issues? Are all pages related to these issues, or is just a single page or just a few pages? Now, by experience, I can tell that most times when we see this big delta is because the home page is heavily impacted. But how do we check that? How do we get to know which pages exactly are impacted by this issue? And so let's go, for example, into the explore section again. Let's open a new blank page and let's try to create our report. Now, we have a few options, and I'm going to show you only one, the one that I prefer, because it will allow us to actually see these two numbers, one next to each other. And so first of all, again, we will need to pull in the dimension. The dimension, since we want to see on a page level what happens, we're going to pull in page path and query string, for example, and then we're going to see the event count as a metric because we want to count how many times these two events happens. Let's double click on both the metric and dimension to pull them into the report. And now we have our report, which doesn't tell us much because we have no differentiation between the two events. And so how to do it? A way to do it is by using segments. And so essentially we're going to create one event segment for the page view event and one event segment for the page load time event. And so let's start with the first one. It's very simple, page views. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Include events when, and then you open the option, events, scroll down, page view. Save and apply. And we have the first one. Now let's create the second one. Still an event segment because we want to see this on event level. Page load time, event. This time we're going to choose page load time. And there we are. For each and every page, we have the split between the page views and page load time. And yes, as I mentioned before, the biggest problem stands in the home page. There's a difference of almost 2,000 people just on this page. That's a big issue. Lost traffic opportunity, lost revenue opportunity. So this issue has to be addressed as soon as possible.